This is the 12th Conference on National Scenic and Historic Trails in Missoula, Montana.
Is to try to yard up a lot of their youth initiatives and figure out what they're getting for their investment and to kind of evaluate those programs. And there's always 1,000+ programs the Forest Service sponsors and partners with to get youth reconnected to nature. And all the directors are kind of scratching their heads, well, what's working, what isn't working, how can we better connect youth, and a lot of running around and frustration. And there are definitely days when we're like, oh my gosh, I don't know if this is actually nice. And so anyway, coming here has been wonderful. And I want to thank you guys, the young folk, myself included, who are here, because you've really allowed me to see, and I can pass this back up to the folks in the Forest Service who, John Stevens, it was his full idea to get you guys here and first put forth the money. And I want to tell them, yeah, you guys are doing great things, and we're going to continue to pass on the great wisdom, bits of advice that you guys have given us to make sure that we further invest in programs and initiatives like this.
Before I pass the microphone to Annie, for those of you that weren't in that youth workshop where they discussed the successful programs, I really encourage you to go to the Ice Age Trails website and see what the Summer Saunters did. It was a $5,000 program primarily funded through donations that got 30 students out on the trail for a week. And not only were those 30 kids still talking about it a year later, those who were too old wanted to become mentors. And for those children that were participating, they drug their parents out there every single day. And by the second day, their parents were going, I want to be here, and I want my girlfriend to come too. So it was amazing how a whole $5,000 and 2 teachers transformed a group of 30, which is going to trickle down into a group of 300 in a matter of months. And the second year that they operated that program, they had double the interest, double the funding. So it only takes that one small opportunity and it turns into a big wave. So I just wanted you to check that out because they've done an amazing job. So Annie, our second discussion point.
So this discussion we have right now is, what could the partnership do differently to improve future youth participant experiences? And I thought that, it's been a really good experience for us, but what I personally would, I think would be really beneficial is to actually have a workshop for the, well, we're not the youth participants anymore, we're, oh yeah, the trail apprentices, so you have to call us that now. But yeah, I think it would be great if we had maybe just one workshop where we could really get, because I feel like, we're all here because we love the trails. That's why we applied, that's why we came out here, took time off of work and all that. And I think that probably every one of us has some important things to say, and if we could really we haven't had a chance really to sit down together and actually say, what our ideas are and how we feel about it, and what, I'm sure we all have great ideas. If we could sit down and, we definitely get some adults in there to help, give them ideas, to hear what they think about that. I think that would be really constructive and just really open up a dialogue, maybe not have the presentations, but really just sit down and discuss and put our ideas on the table, because I think that it could be very productive and could be helpful for the people who are actually in the workplace right now, who are looking for these ideas and hearing what we have to say when, we have a lot of great ideas. So I think that would be one thing that could be very, very productive for this organization. Does anyone?
Anybody else want to address that question? I know that our experience here was amazing. We've all had a chance to discuss that. But what can we do differently next time around to help facilitate the experience? So that you've had a chance to start a little while here. Because Steve is wearing the Florida Trail Hiking Festival shirt. Oh, God.
This is for Josh. He had his on yesterday, but I'm all sweaty, so I don't have today. In your point just now, can somebody here set up a blog for the partnership so you guys can keep this dialogue going? I don't have to do blogs, but I'd love it if you guys had time sometimes you could do that, because I'd love to hear the substantive issues. I thought that's what this workshop was going to do that a little bit, but we might just touch the surface. But there's so many rich ideas here, and the partnership in general is eager not to let this just go. You guys, I don't know if you know this, but trails are for life. Your book now And, you know, let's get the dialogue going so the road up that mountain together is the best possible road we can make. So somebody set up a blog. The mountain, what did I say, the road to Oregon, is it the road to Oregon, the trail to Oregon? The way. The Tao. Anyway, somebody set up a blog so we can all stay in touch with each other instantly.
I know that we had discussed as a group setting up a Facebook page to keep in touch amongst ourselves, and I'll have to be sure to address the partnership about using their website to do a blog. I think that's a fabulous idea. Thank you. Anyone else? Pass it back here.
I'm Bobby Kaplan, and I'm actually the incoming president for North Country Trail. My question to the apprentices, if you will, how many of you have invested in becoming student members of the respective trails that might be in your backyard? I would challenge you to do that. Invest the money, but at the same time become engaged and become involved. I think that's what this is all about. You've had some trail experiences on the trail, you've learned some things, rah. But the trails need your energy, because a lot of the average age, I'm one of the, in fact, my wife and I at 53, 54, are some of the older active members, but we need a regeneration. Most of our trails have a lot of older folks involved, and here's your opportunity. I mean, we have openings for director of trail operations, and yes, we want experience. You got to get experience somewhere, and you're doing that through internships, etc. And doing the respective work projects, but invest in your neighboring trails that are in your backyard, whether, I mean, it might be the North Country Trail, because we're awfully long as a longest national scenic trail, but the others as well. And then I challenge you, get engaged and get involved, because you can make a difference. You can share ideas amongst yourselves and with the partnership, but there's national trails out there need your input too. Thank you.
Oh my gosh, this is really crazy. Okay, I'm going to start in this corner and work my way around.
I guess just to address sort of the blogging, connecting thing super fast, I never actually thought I'd say this, but my seemingly unrelated majors in college actually are computer science and English, and so if you want help designing it, then let me know. I think it sort of seems like people often get technology versus nature, and we can actually really help each other. So give me a call.
So we're going to take down Sarah's information and her social security number so we don't let her get away. Yeah. Okay. Can I see a raise of hands? And I want to get my last youth participants before I grab my. Okay, Marshall, and not that we don't love you.
Well, we've been assigned mentors, and that was really helpful to get us to talk to. Is this working?
Yes.
Right. To talk to the last generation of.
Not the last.
Well, previous to our generation, government employees in the agencies that we'll probably end up working for at some point in time. I'm not used to using these, but we were assigned these mentors, and some were more apt to working with one mentee, and some were better satisfied with working with multiple mentees, and some were kind of thrown into it. And you know, that's great, but they were also from maybe an agency that we weren't interested in working with. Like, I work for the Forest Service, and you know, I got paired with somebody who worked for the BLM, and that was great. I mean, I learned a lot, but it may be that if we chose what mentors we wanted to work with, we would be able to learn more, because, you know, I have goals that I want to meet, and so do you guys, but I think that those would match up well, especially if I were to be able to choose what I were learning. So I think that's one improvement that we could make, and I think it's doable. So, thank you.
Discussion, previous discussed, there's an H in there. We had discussed in a previous session how to better match mentors and mentees, and I think that we hope to have a greater application process for both sides of that, and it's going to be a great honor at the next conference to be a part of that process. So get your applications ready, mentors, because we're going to be looking at them very closely. So, is there another set of hands? I'd like to take 2 more before we move on, because our last discussion voice is just a banger, and because this is my executive director, I feel honored to hand the microphone.
Well, you might not when I say what I have to say, because now I'm thinking that we've got to figure out a way to do this come next March at our conference. And you're in charge.
Whoever the next trail is, that I would love to facilitate part of that process, and I imagine that I won't be the only scholarship participant that says I want to help do this next time. So, last one, you guys want to do rock, paper, scissors? Anybody? Yeah, actually, I'm sorry. We'll go. We can walk around the next. Yeah.
So I came to this session, and I'm actually really surprised there's not more older people in this session. And it, with all, and you know, it is the end, and you know, people might have different priorities right now, but you know, so the message to, you know, older employees in here is young people are excited, you know, educated, responsible, because, you know, I go and talk to agency partners all the time, and they're like, oh, kids, like, I don't want to bring them on. But, you know, they're real, that is one of the hurdles. And, you know, you've met all these people in the room, and they're amazing. And, you know, they're not just from SCA. They're from your communities. They're from everywhere. And, you know, one of the points that I made in the youth session yesterday was have youth lead your youth programs. You know, have your youth create those blogs. Have your youth go out and be engaged in your communities in the way you want. And in terms of, you know, a specific question, I thought the mentor program was really great. And I'd like to see in a future conference a way to have the youth voices be speaking up more in the sessions. And sometimes because of the gap that we're dealing with and trying to bridge right now, youth need permission. And I know that sounds weird because all of these folks are leaders, but sometimes it's just like at the beginning of a session saying, you know, no matter who you are, I want you to speak up if you have something to say.
Thank you. I know that we have a break after this session, and if everyone would be willing to sort of extend 10 minutes later, I'd really love to get everyone's discussion points in, because this has been an amazing conversation. So let me hand the microphone to you ladies. And I'm setting a timer. You ready?
I'm ready. I want to thank you all for being here, and on behalf of BLM, I know Marcia came into the room. We're very excited about integrating youth into our programs, and the skill set that I've seen in this room just knocks my socks off, you see. They are gone, and I will pledge, as someone who works with historic trails, to try and get a youth, skilled youth apprentice, trail apprentice, and to each one of our trails for some summer work. And we can do it. We know how to get the money to them. We need to get you to them. So that's my pledge.
Yay, Sarah.
So I'm Michelle Mitchell. I'm with the U.S. Forest Service Florida National Scenic Trail. I'm really motivated by the statement my partner made about bringing youth to their conference. I want to say, Florida Trail Association, I'm behind you, and any of the folks in this conference who are interested in participating in that, we want to talk with you.
We have a really good time, and it sounds like they're going to be willing to pay for your ride, right? So.
Marcia Shandy with BLM. First, I want to apologize for there not being more adults here, but I suspect that they were thinking that it was only for the youth to be here. And also that real challenging conflict with the other workshops are very critical information. So please don't take it personally.
There's a lot more people here than there are.
But also I was asked to have 2 mentees, and when we come to these conferences, there's so much happening like this, and a lot of people you got to connect with, and I really didn't fulfill my what I really wanted to do, and I'm sorry that I didn't, but I kept trying to send other people that way and to other. But I think it's a terrific program, and And I know we've said we want you to work with the agencies. You know, that doesn't mean you can't be your own contractor, because we need good partners. And working with the nonprofit organizations as much as working with the agencies.
That's part 4. Stay tuned for part 5 for more on the 12th Conference on National Scenic and Historic Trails in Missoula, Montana.